Whiskey for the Ages is not sponsored or endorsed for any product or program mentioned in this show and receive no remuneration from their creators.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to Whiskey for the Ages. I'm your host Brian Dawson, and tonight Hannah's here.
Hello everyone, here I am.
And Elora's here too.
Hi, I am officially home.
Officially home. It's great to have you both here tonight, and we're in for a new adventure. We've got guests, but not just anybody.
We have Dawsons.
We have Dawson.
There's more of us. There's more of us.
Yes, we've got family.
I bet everybody thought that it was just the three of us weirdos that did this. No. There's multiple weirdos.
Yes. So I've got my brother John and his wife Sue. Hello.
Hello there.
Hi.
And I've got Joan and my brother Mark.
Hello. Hi.
Mark and Joan specifically, I know you listen to every single podcast. And
Yes, we do. We are big fans of your podcast.
yes, and I know that you listen all over the United States because I heard that you were listening to us on your way to Texas.
I may or may have not spilled that detail.
And I also heard that you listened to us on your way to and from East Coast.
Yeah.
And then you go up north to northern Wisconsin and you listen to and from. Mark, you told me, last week you did a marathon session? You were binge listening?
We binged. We listened to one episode on the way up and tried to listen to two on the way back, but they were too long. I always thought that trip to the cabin was a long one, but it's not long enough for two podcasts.
We talked 10 minutes too long, girls.
Darn
Yeah,
it.
we were into the news, but we still have about one article left to listen to, I guess.
Yeah. And that's a good article. Give you a little synopsis of it. The oldest whiskey that was still available was found in Scotland behind a hidden wall in a castle. And
I saw the video.
it was 1833, it was put into cask, and it's believed that Queen Victoria actually drank some of it. Kind of cool.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We have to go back and see if we can find the bottle.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, if you do, I just want one. They are said to bring about 10,000 pounds each. There were 40 bottles.
And a lot of them are in museums now as well, so might be a little tricky, but
Yeah.
We can do it.
That's a terrible place to put whiskey.
Yeah.
Pointless.
Somebody drank some, or actually they had some that they drank, and they said that it's hard to believe that the style that they made way back then could be made as late as the 1950s. It still had the stylings of things right on through century and a half. That's pretty bizarre. So John, what are you drinking?
So I actually couldn't decide. I've been saving a couple of bourbons for Christmas. When I go back to Wisconsin, I usually get some J. Henry, and I save it because I can't get it here in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. But on the way back from Wisconsin this last time, we stopped at a place called Japtha Creed and picked up some Bloody Butcher's Creed. It's made with red corn.
oh,
And I've been saving that for Christmas. So I decided, well, maybe I should have a little bit of each. So that's what I'm drinking tonight. I've got some J. Henry and some Bloody Butcher's Creed.
Good for you.
Nice.
Good for you.
that's
Sue,
fun.
I see something in a red glass, or something red in your glass.
Yes,
What are you drinking?
yes, I'm sorry.
I'm having a Malbec.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it. We don't discriminate here.
We had a Malbec over at over Thanksgiving, and it was a really good Malbec. I like Malbecs quite a bit.
Yes. It's delicious.
So Mark, what'd you pour?
Well, Joan picked up a fresh bottle of Old Forester 100
Yes!
yesterday.
You followed my advice.
We've never had Old Forester before, and
No,
so
we've been wanting to try it.
yeah, so I decided I better try a little of that.
I had some of that just last week, and it was one that we reviewed at the very beginning of this season, wasn't it? Or was it last
That's
season?
right.
It was the beginning of this season. We had a whole episode just about that Old Forester 100. And, every time I have it, it's only like a $25 bottle, pretty standard across the country. Every time, it has no right being as good as it is at $25. It sits right up there with a $40, with even a $50. It's a great little bottle.
Now, is that something you can get anywhere?
Anywhere.
Yep.
Anywhere.
I've got our listeners can't see, but I actually have the bottle right on hand. So,
Huh. How did that happen?
This is, if I can
gotta
get it to
glare.
not glare, but it's
Yep.
got the little orange label at the top. So, but should be able to find it just about in any liquor store. If it's not there, it's just because they're out and they're
Yeah.
going to restock
All right.
soon.
And what makes it, a lot of people walk by it, it's a screw cap.
Right.
Right.
And people will say, screw cap, we don't want that. It's a good bourbon. Don't sleep on it.
Yep.
It's 100 proof. Sometimes they call it Old Forester 100. Sometimes they call it Orange Label. Sometimes they call it Signature. It's all those things. It is a
pretty good.
best buy without
Pretty
question.
good. So, but Joan, are you having the Old Forester, or are you having a rye? I know you love your ryes.
Well, I was torn, but I really wanted to try the Old Forester 100 because of some of the reviews and the podcasts that we listened to. And so I decided I was going to sacrifice a rye and choose an Old Forester 100.
Well, I sure hope. Pressure's on now.
Yeah.
What's
I'm
that?
missing a little bit of the spiciness that I usually get from the rye, but I really like the fruity cherry notes of this one.
Yeah.
Maraschino cherries and the almond, and then the peppery
Yeah.
aftertaste.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's sweeter than your
I pulled
rice.
out a Rebel Rye 100 to follow this up with if this goes too long.
Yeah.
We're
right.
prepared.
Elora, what are you drinking tonight?
It was the Blade and Bow.
Blade and Bow.
Blade and Bow.
Yeah.
Blade and Bow is an interesting bourbon. It's Solero aged. Now, that's a fancy word. Solero simply means that if you were to take, I'm going to use a pyramid of 10 barrels. The topmost barrel has young wine in it. The bottom row of barrels has old wine in it. So what you do is you take a little bit out of the bottom barrels and you put it in a bottle. Then you take a little bit out of the next row above and fill those bottom barrels. Then you take a little bit of the next row and fill those bottles. And then you take the top one and fill the very top bottle. So you always have fresh bourbon going into the Solero process, but you always have old bourbon as well.
Kind of
So
like an infinity.
Yeah, it's very much like an infinity bottle, but with a barrel.
I quite like it.
So
Yep.
it's a pretty interesting thing. I thought you'd like it. I
Yeah.
know you'd never had it before.
Hannah recommended it to me.
Yeah.
She's
It's-
like, drink this.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
It's one that we don't get super often here in Idaho, and it's just now starting to trickle into our stores. The last time we'd had it, it was a bottle that someone brought up to us from California.
Yep, I had somebody mule me a bottle.
Yeah, they were very generous to do so. But now it's coming into Idaho stores. So, yeah, Yeah, why not? Grab a bottle.
So
of
the
that.
name Bladed,
I thought what you were describing was out in your backyard.
that would be nice. That would be very nice.
We don't have the space, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but
Or the
That
dirt.
would be very Christmassy too. It would look like a Christmas tree.
It would.
you know what? Yeah, it would.
It would. It would.
That's a good idea.
You could decorate a tree with like the corks. Like make
Yeah,
one
There you
there
go.
you go.
There you
Instead of
go.
like little popcorn strings, you use little cork strings.
And the name Blade and Bow comes from a skeleton key. The blade is the shaft of the key, and the bow is the teeth that are on the end of the key. And they used to hang these keys at the beginning or at the, yeah,
I see it.
yeah.
That's actually what comes with the bottle.
And there's 7 different keys or whatever.
Yeah, this is key number 4. We've got key number 4.
Anyway,
The last bourbon that I bought a couple weeks ago came with a key. I'm wondering if it's the same thing.
Could
I
be.
think it is.
It could be.
I thought it was a key to the place where you get more bourbon. That's why I bought it.
Hannah, what are you drinking?
So, around these parts, called a bit of a bottle killer. I find the bottle that only has the last few dregs in it left, and I kill the bottle. Today, the victim was, unfortunately, a Colonel Taylor barrel proof batch 10. It happens to be our last of our barrel proof E.H. Taylor. I realized that only after looking through our little library inventory to mark it as a dead soldier, and now I'm kind of bummed that I poured it, but you know what, I figured, you know, like you guys all did, it's Christmas time, have something special, you know, we're family. I'll pour the fancy one and I'll enjoy it. So that's what I'm doing. What about you, Dad?
I don't know what I'm drinking.
He's got like 4 things there.
I got 4 little 1-ounce bottles.
Oh,
Okay.
mix them.
I'm not going to
No,
mix them.
no.
And this is part of our Advent calendar. So if you guys remember episodes in the past, we had a summer Advent episode, and then we talked about 30 bourbons in 30 days, and then we mentioned a winter Advent. Well, there's Advent calendars for candy, and there's Advent calendars for a bunch of things. I belong to a whiskey group. And I belong to this whiskey group, and every year we get 24 of us together, and we each donate a bottle, and as it works out, there's 25 ounces in a bottle, provided you don't spill. And then we put 24 ounces together, we give them to a guy, and he puts fancy, I don't know if you can see that, there's a
QR code.
QR code on it, and then there's a sticky label that I can peel off. And the trick is, we try to guess what it is we're drinking.
I would fail at this game. I love bourbons, but to be honest, it's like, if it's a good bourbon, I'm fine with that. I don't really need to know what it is unless it's Old Forester and Larceny, because those are my favorites, but honestly, this game I'd suck at.
We do the guessing game during the summer Advent calendar, and it's actually a point system on, can you guess the distillery, can you guess the proof, can you guess the bottle, can you guess the age of it, whole 9 thing. I have been in the top 3 every single year at the end of the points tally.
I'm not in the top 3.
I'm very good at the game. During the winter time, we don't do the points thing. We just kick back. There's an Advent calendar. When you take the little sticky off, it gives you all the information about what you're drinking. But it's just meant to be a little fun thing that we do. I missed out on it this year. I was a bit too late. The group fills up really, really fast.
There's 180 of us plus in the group, and there's probably 40 very active people. And this year our calendar filled so fast, I think it filled in 2 days. We opened a second calendar and it filled in 6 days. So we did 48 bottles that we just donate. The trouble with this group is this group travels. So I've never had the Jephthah Creed. somebody could just as easily put that in here. I would never have any idea what it is because I've never had it before.
But it's fun.
So the best thing I can tell you is I'm pretty good at guessing the type. I can tell whether it's got rye in it or whether it's got wheat in it or something like that. But I'd be hard pressed to tell you what it is. Although this particular cycle, I've got 2 right and a whole bunch wrong. So that's what we're doing.
Fun.
Yep.
Well, guys, thanks for
Well,
being.
Go ahead.
this is a bourbon podcast, but what you're talking about sounds like a sommelier. And a 3rd-degree sommelier is supposed to take a sip of wine and know what country did it come from, what vineyard did it come from, which slope did it come from, which day did they harvest it, and which year did it come from, and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
And
I could
that's
never.
just amazing to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
That
really
that
cool.
requires a great deal of drinking.
And
Yes, it
attention.
does.
I guess I could sign myself up for that part. So thanks for being on the show. And like I said, we're just kind of open this up. We're going to have a little fun with it. First thing I'd like to ask you guys, Mark and Joan, you guys did a distillery tour this year, or a couple of them. So talk to us about that. Where did you
Well,
go?
we didn't. I guess we did a tour. We were coming back from dropping Julia, our daughter, off to at her new home in South Carolina. We stopped and split a bottle of Four Roses with John.
Split it 3 ways.
Oh yeah, split it 3 ways.
Was that a small batch, 4 roses? I don't know.
Yeah, it was a small batch, so that's okay.
Yeah,
That's
but that
all.
was okay.
Listen, that's only 8 ounces apiece.
It was a big bottle, wasn't it?
Yeah. You
I
guys.
don't. We didn't technically split it. There was some left in the morning.
You didn't leave as early as you had planned the next day.
Something happened, and the clock went from 9 o'clock to 3:30, just like that. I don't know how that happens by a fire, but it's not the first time. It won't be the last.
Definitely not.
That's right.
That's right.
So we were going to get up early and do a little more bourbon touring that day, but when we leave, about 2:30. So,
Yeah.
so we didn't even get to Kentucky until the following day. But
Yeah, we had an extra vacation day that we had
yeah, we had to burn it up.
Yeah.
On our way through, we didn't have a ton of time. We stopped at Woodford Reserve. We just went into the gift shop. We asked about a tour. They were booked. We didn't tour anything. We didn't even taste anything there.
No, it was
Beautiful grounds.
It was too reserved for us.
Yeah. It was a pretty drive into the country
Yeah,
and,
it was.
and everything. And then, so we left there and went to Buffalo Trace.
Oh, wow.
And I had looked into doing a tour there a few weeks before we left, and you got to book those out months in advance, so we didn't have a tour.
Well,
but we could have, because they said they have cancellations all the time, so I think you could just show up and...
Well, but we met these 2 motorcycle guys that were going to give us tickets. They
Oh
were.
yeah, their dates didn't come with them.
So we could have had, but we would have had to stay until 1 o'clock to do the tour with them.
Yeah, so during our process at Buffalo Trace, we did some tasting. And while we were tasting, the people we were tasting with asked the person serving us about a place called Whiskey Thief. And she said, "Oh, you gotta go there. It's this new distillery. They've only been around a few years. It's just a barn in a field. They're putting out some good stuff."
Yeah, so I'm like, hey, let's go there. Barn in the field. Yeah.
Well, and that's what I was really interested in. Having done some wine tasting with you, Brian, out in Temecula, our favorite place, and I think yours was the barn in a field.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So we headed out there. I had a meeting that I needed to attend for work, so I stayed in the car. And so
She sent, so
I
Claire
sent Joan
me
in to recon. Take it over.
So I didn't really know what I was in for. I just walked in and this young gal came up and said, "Have you been here before?" And I'm like, "A barn in Kentucky. I've been in a barn, but not in a distillery, like a barn with a distillery." So she gave me the lowdown, gave me the 10-minute tour, because that's all it was, just a barn in the middle of a pasture. And but what was really cool though, I just like, yeah, we're here to taste. So my husband's in the car, he'll be tasting too, but I got a little bit of a head start. But what was unique about it is the Whiskey Thief is it's copper pipe that you can use to fill your glass, and there were 4 different, was it 4 or 5?
5. 4 bourbons, 1 rye.
4 bourbons and 1 rye. And so then you could taste which one that you wanted, and you would select it, either one or all, whatever you wanted to choose from. And they had varying levels, and they had the mash bill, like
Yeah,
what it
everything was
consists of.
listed in
Everything
the
was
back.
listed. Yeah, so then you would pick the one you want, and then you could fill your own bottle at the end.
Whoa.
That's cool.
So did you come home with a bottle?
Yeah, so you would take put it in the hole of the barrel, and then lift up what it looks like a long copper straw, and then pour it into
You put your thumb on the end of it?
Yeah,
I think it's brass, but yeah, like a big straw.
You siphoned it out. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, siphon it out into your bottle.
Cool.
So we
Yeah.
tasted, it was 4 bourbons. I think they started at 5 years old, and there was a 6 and maybe 2 7s and an 8.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, because they're not.
I have a
They're like
picture.
11 years old, so they're not. It's not
Yeah,
a very old distillery at all.
Yeah.
And I remember the first 3, I tasted corn. Like I was standing in a corn bin kind of corn. It
Yeah.
was strong corn. Not in a bad way, but just, it was powerful. The oldest one was less corn. And then when we got to the rye, there was just a lot going on, and it was very well balanced.
Yeah, spicy, some fruitiness. Yeah, it was.
I have to interrupt. I'm watching Sue nose bourbon right now. and that was kind of, you did well. You took 2 good breaths in.
Yeah, he's like, smell this.
Yeah.
Well, you guys were talking about smelling,
Yeah,
strong
I'm like,
corn,
can you
and I
really
said,
smell the corn?
so I had to take my 2 glasses, and they smell so much different. And, I think that you probably just smell that there's a lot of alcohol coming out of those glasses. But the
Yeah.
nose is very different,
Yeah.
and I don't smell corn in either one, but I'm sure one of them does.
I think that's interesting.
It takes a while. I mean,
Yeah.
the very first ones I was doing, I wasn't tasting anything. I could tell you, this one's good, this one isn't.
Well, rarely do I actually smell corn specifically. Like sometimes I can smell grain, I can smell earth, I can smell grass, but sometimes picking out the exact grain, I don't really do that much unless I'm having a rye, because it's really obvious with a rye that you're smelling rye.
Certain bourbons are easier to detect corn than others.
Yeah,
I think
noticed
the ones
too.
that you guys are drinking, Mark and Joan, that one's a relatively easy one to get the corn out of. But don't think in terms of field corn per se. Think in terms of you threw corn on the cob on the grill,
Yeah.
and you're getting a roasted element to it.
Like a roasted
Sweet corn.
Yeah.
Or
That's what I'm smelling in the J. Henry.
yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
I was thinking the J. Henry would.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've had a J. Henry. Whenever we go out to Wisconsin, we also go by that distillery and grab some J. Henry.
Well, not the J. We go to 45th Parallel.
Yeah.
Who
makes
the J. Henry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really cool place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I picked up the Bloody Butcher's Creed because they also make theirs out of red corn like
Yeah.
J. Henry does.
Yeah.
So I was really interested in it, and I thought, well, they're going to taste similar. They don't.
Yeah.
They're very, very different. The Japta Creed is really mellow. The smell, the taste is really, it's just awesome. You have to come out and visit us, and then on the way, just stop by. It's in Kentucky. It's easy to find. It's a big state.
Yeah.
And they'll come up.
There you go.
We drove right by it.
Yeah, right on the way.
We were closed. They were closed the day we were there.
Ah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so just point out, it's woman-owned, so that's pretty cool.
That is
And
awesome.
really important, they're building a hotel like a couple of blocks from it. It's in the country. You're going to have to walk on a country road, but if you have too much, it's okay. There's a hotel. And it's a dog-friendly place. That's why we go.
Yeah.
Oh,
There you go.
okay. Good to know.
That is good.
That
to
is
know.
important.
And the corn
Yeah.
nuts are really delicious.
We'll definitely have to visit it. And you guys.
Yeah. So good story. Good story. John,
Yeah, so we
you
ended up buying a bottle of the rye.
Yeah.
And we are saving it until you guys get back to Wisconsin. So you have that to look forward to.
well, that's good.
I think I'm probably the one that's looking the most forward to it because I'm like Joan. I love the rice.
She's our rye drinker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the rice too. And in fact, there was too much in the whiskey thief to fill
Well,
up.
I filled the bottle to the brim.
The brim.
There was no room for a fill.
Well, I just took my glass.
Well, then-
Here, I can help you with
I
that.
took it over to the guy that was going to cork it, and I said, oh, I made a mistake. He said, that's no problem, and he just poured it in Joan's glass.
So you'll go back there again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
That's
was fun.
that's
We
hospitality.
ended up- so this is a barn in a field. I mean, not very big. The tour lasted 10 minutes.
So
We were there 2.5 hours.
Because I was talking with random people that were there.
Yeah, they had
People
some
from Michigan.
tables out at the end of the barn, and we were just enjoying the
The
company.
scenery and company and people there.
Yeah, that's the way to experience it. It's so,
Yeah.
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 so amazing. And what was the name again?
It's called a Whiskey Thief.
Whiskey Thief.
Yeah.
And it's not too far from Buffalo Trace. It was like maybe a 15-minute drive.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's definitely a bucket list
Yeah.
item that we have. It
Yep.
is going through and doing a tour. That'd be
Yeah.
really, really
Doing
cool.
the whiskey trail.
Yeah.
We have
They were cool.
we have a couple of distilleries out here, one of which has reached out to us. We just can't get our timings right to go see them, but we've been invited to meet the master distiller out there, so that's a possibility. And then on the eastern side of the state, we don't get there very often. There's
Anymore.
another distillery, and we've had them some of their products. In fact, the Kelches, the liquor distributors, one of them is representing them nationwide right now. So that's kind of cool. John, your story. How did you get started in bourbon? How did you get started in whiskey? Let's
So
not count the university days. Those days don't count.
Yeah.
I actually did not think that I liked bourbon, if you can believe that.
I believe it.
I had no experience with it. And I was working for an insurance broker that had made a rule that says we cannot take gifts or anything of the sort from insurance companies because that would make us be unobjective. But this insurance company the rep kept coming to me and said, we're having a bourbon tour and you need to come. And I said, but that's not allowed. And finally he said, but Dale, the guy that runs your agency, he said, it's okay. So finally I caved. I flew to Louisville, and to make it legit, I went and I visited a client. Well, I didn't actually visit. I drove past the place. I had dinner with the guy that was from the client. So yeah, I had a meeting. And then the next day, I took my rental car back to the airport and met everybody else for this big event that I was told, this is a big event for your company. And there were 4 of us. One was the designated driver. And then the rest of us got to drink some bourbon. We went to a place called Maker's Mark. So it's an interesting tour. I like the length of the tour that you guys had out at that barn in the field. Ours was so long that was the only place we went to.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. It's fascinating. I think if everybody should go to a bourbon tour, even if you don't like bourbon, because the whole process is just really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But next we went to a museum. That was a bust. There was no bourbon there. And next we went to a bourbon bar that wasn't open. They were going to open in about 15 minutes, and we said, but we're here all the way from Wisconsin. Couldn't you just open a little bit early? And finally they said yes.
15 minutes later.
We decided between the 3 of us who were drinking bourbon, we would do a flight. There was going to be 6 different bourbons, because we had this thing we were going to go to, and I'm still thinking, there's going to be a whole bunch of people from my company here, and I don't want to have too much bourbon, so a flight is between 3 of us, that's good. But we're trying to figure out, how do we choose a good bourbon? There's this guy at the end of the bar, he called himself Big John. And Big John had just gotten out of prison because he had gotten arrested for making moonshine illegally. We're going to be legit now. We actually have a license, and we're coming out with this product. I don't remember what it is, but I'm pretty sure they never actually did. He helped us choose all 6 shots of bourbon. And we're enjoying them. He did a good job. And I said, so how do you choose a good bourbon? He said, I don't know. I don't really like it. I just shoot the stuff. but I learned in this process that it's really interesting, the different flavors. Of those 6 different bourbons, it was across the whole spectrum. I really enjoyed it. And then learning that you guys like bourbon, and you brought some with you when you came out to Wisconsin a couple of years ago,
Sure.
And finding out that Mark's likes bourbon. The only angst that I have is our dad probably didn't like bourbon. I don't know if he ever had it. He was more into brandy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
So every once in a while, I have to put the bourbon away and say, let's have a toast to Dad and have a little bit of brandy. But I really prefer bourbon because it's a whole lot more interesting for me.
I can't stomach brandy. I just can't. I equate it to medicine because I feel as though we were given a spoonful of brandy every time we had a cold.
When you had a cough and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I had enough, and I'm sure Mark has the same experience. I had enough opportunities to sit down with Dad and play some cribbage and have some bourbon. You get past brandy. You get past the medicinousness, and it's like, this is a memory. And that's pretty cool.
I can't tell you how many times I would let Dad know I was on the way, and he called me somewhere within 2 miles of town to find out when I was going to be there. I mean, he knew the trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I would get there, and there was a glass of brandy with ice. The ice was the mix.
Yeah.
And,
Then
and
you
we
took
played
the brandy out of the flower dispenser.
Oh, that was I was concerned for Dad because as he was getting older, they kept the liquor up in the top cupboard to keep it away from us kids as we were growing up. And to really get to it, you had to get on a chair. And I was concerned that Dad was going to fall. But he fixed that problem.
He brought it down lower?
Out of the cupboard and put it into the flour bin.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yep. But what I like about bourbon instead of brandy is there's like 3 or 4 national brands, and they work really hard to make sure that when you buy a bottle of of brandy, it tastes exactly the same as it did last time.
Yes.
But with bourbon, there's so many different varieties. It's like going on a trip. It's like going on a journey, and you have many different things to experience. So that's why I really enjoy bourbon.
It's a really good way to put that. I think that's something that we talk about here all the time, that each bourbon has its own story. The people that you have it with make a difference on it. The time of year can make a difference on it. What you're eating with it can make a difference on it. Like, it's one of those things that bourbon is just always going to have a variety to it. And I really love that.
One of the bourbons that we have, actually it's not a bourbon, it's a rye. Our whiskey group has bought several barrels, and then we have it bottled for us. We put our own logo on it. One of them is from a distillery called Smooth Ambler.
That wasn't a rye.
It wasn't a rye?
No, it's a bourbon.
It's a
The
bourbon?
one you're thinking of.
It's Old Scout. When we drank it with you guys at the lake, Hannah loved it.
Yeah, it was. I loved it. It was great. It had so much complexity to it. It tasted perfect around the campfire. We came home and we had another bottle sitting here at home, and it was one of the first things I grabbed when we got back from Wisconsin, because I already was missing you guys and missing the campfire, the boat, the lake, everything. And I have it, and I'm like, oh, that is awful. It was a complete 180 for me, and I couldn't understand it, and I kept taking more sips, like, okay, maybe it took me a while to warm up to it when I was sitting around the campfire, and I'm just not remembering it because I probably was 4 glasses in by that point. I'm not sure anymore, but every single time I poured that bottle, it was a continuous disappointment, frankly, for me. I actually wrote a whole post about it on our website. I didn't write it in a disparaging way to the bottle itself, but more as a commentary on how the circumstance can really change how you feel about a whiskey, how you feel about a bourbon, and eventually wrapping it up into some poetic, romantic sort of thing where, it's, yes, maybe I don't like it as much as I did when I was over there, but you know what? I get to kind of put a cork in the memory over there, and it gets to just exist forever, like, as that one thing always. And I liked that part of it.
I think that bourbon...
There's 2 takeaways that I take from that. One is the experience of the people in the place that you're with impacts how you taste.
Yeah.
But the other one, and you didn't actually describe this, but it came to mind as you're describing it, is you might like something really well, and I might not like that, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the best bourbon that you're going to have is the one that you like.
Yeah.
And not everybody likes the same thing.
Absolutely.
I think that bourbon is, and this is going to sound like an odd idea, but I think it's an extroverted drink, because it just invites family and friends. I mean, in that neat documentary, you enjoy it with friends. Like, you don't save a bottle of bourbon for a special occasion, because all occasions with family and friends are special. So it's like, if you have a nice bottle, drink it.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that's absolutely true, but I will also tell you that I will be the first to raise my hand and say I've sat down with a small paper plate of peanut butter and a bourbon and just stuck my finger in it and went to town and was perfectly happy with my bourbon and peanut butter.
I have bourbon and popcorn all the time. Bourbon and popcorn is one of the greatest combinations known to man.
Salty and sweet.
Salty and sweet.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, I did it last night, actually.
Yeah,
Bourbon and popcorn.
I did it 2 nights ago when I was still back at my apartment.
For dinner.
Yeah. You know what? Sometimes it is.
Well, thinking about earlier in our conversation, Mark and Joan were talking about the tasting the corn. I think Mark, you said the first several that you had at the
Thief.
the barn in the
Whiskey,
woods, or in the
whiskey
field,
thief.
tasting like corn. Would it matter what kind of bourbon you have when you're having popcorn?
That's a good question.
Yes, I think it does. I rarely have rye with popcorn. I want to have a bourbon with popcorn. I want to have something that's really sweet bourbon, so I don't want anything particularly peppery. I'll avoid any Jim Beam product if I'm having it with popcorn. I'll usually pull down like a Buffalo Trace, an Old Forester. What are the other ones that I grab?
Grab Larceny, because Larceny's
Maker's
really good
Mark?
with popcorn
Yeah,
too.
I'll grab Maker's Mark products. Sometimes I'll grab Elijah Craig's and
Heaven Hills.
products.
They all have a
but-
funk.
Yeah.
Each
Yeah.
one of them has a little characteristic. It doesn't matter if you're buying the least expensive Jim Beam or the most expensive Jim Beam. They all have a nut funk.
Yeah.
There's something nutty in there.
Yeah. I won't typically do something ridiculously high proof if I'm having popcorn. I find that I get Kentucky hugs when I do that. It confuses my diaphragm, and I don't like getting Kentucky hugs. They really hurt me,
You
and
get them a lot.
I get
Like,
incapacitated.
Like 2 times every week, I would say you get a Kentucky hug.
Not
You're like,
anymore.
oh my God, no! We're like, Kentucky hug, got it. She's not going to be talking for another 3 minutes.
All right, so I have to stop us just a little bit because I finished my first. I'm going to go on record as saying I don't know what this is. I don't think I've ever had it before. I think it's an American single malt.
You're the only
Okay.
one who knows.
So I'm going to peel off the label to find out what it is. And that's the only guess I'm giving. It is
You were wrong.
Oregon Spirit. It is a straight bourbon aged 4 years at 94 proof.
Cool.
I had no idea what I was drinking. Never had it before.
Was it good?
That was okay.
Okay.
Give it about a 6.
6 out of 10.
All right. Go on. Carry on.
been-
I got another question about popcorn.
Yeah.
Does it matter what kind of popcorn? Is
I
it
will
only
bourbon
go
butter
for
with
Orville's.
microwave popcorn, or the popcorn you make on the stove,
Okay.
or that
Oh,
all right.
popcorn you can buy at the grocery store?
So,
You're putting up a good point.
Caramel,
so if I'm
Caramel
having
corn.
microwave
caramel
popcorn,
and cheesy.
if I'm having microwave popcorn, it is only gonna be Orville Redenbacher. Extra, it's the movie theater butter.
But it's also the only
Yeah, the
one whenever
butter, yeah.
Dad makes popcorn, isn't it?
Yeah, but when Dad makes popcorn on the stove, it's with the kernels.
Orville
And it's
Redenbacher.
Orville Redenbacher there as well. Costco's, the Kirkland brand popcorn is actually really, really good too. I like that popcorn a lot. I haven't had it in a long time, but that would go great with bourbon as well. The other ones the other brands I don't really like as much. Either there's too much butter on them, or there's too much salt on them, or there's just not enough. I like the movie theater butter, Orville Redenbacher.
But when
That's my
That's the only one we get because
Yeah.
of you.
But when I do the Orville Redenbacher kernels, I do put more than enough butter on it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the butter.
Yes.
Smooth like butter.
Yep.
Does Orville make any bourbon, or do they contribute to any bourbon brand?
Not that I'm aware of.
As soon as they do, I will let you know.
Yeah, because that'd be really cool.
And just as a reminder, at the beginning of every episode, we do a disclaimer saying that we are not sponsored by or affiliated with, nor get any money or remuneration from any brand product that we talk about here on our
However,
show.
Orville Redenbacher, if you're listening, call and we can set something
We can
up.
set something up for you.
I have a question for everybody. I'm not the bourbon drinker or anything. I do drink.
You are the non-bourbon drinker.
Or yes, the non-bourbon drinker. But now, like wines, you can sometimes have the dark chocolate. Can you do that with bourbon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
and yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Ask about cheese, Sue. Ask about cheese.
Yes.
Well, the thing about the cheese is, I remember like a couple of years ago, we were in Wisconsin, and what did we have? It was like Parmesan cheese.
Yes.
And I think it was because we had tried it before, and we were like, guys, you need to try Parmesan cheese.
Well, it's one of those pairing things. Like every spirit can have its own food that it pairs with really well, and its own cheese in particular that it pairs really well with. Bourbon pairs really well with Parmesan
Because it's salty.
You get the salty sweet factor again, like what I get out of my popcorn bourbon combo. The chocolate, yes, you definitely get the chocolate. Not in every single one of them. I'd say that I'm trying to think of what distillery would be more prevalent to have chocolate in it. I'd want to say probably Maker's Mark.
Yes.
Or Buffalo Trace, because I mean, cherries and chocolate.
Yeah, you do get a little chocolate in Buffalo Trace.
But Maker's Mark products have a lot of chocolate in them, and they're darker chocolates. Sometimes you get white chocolate though too, and it completely throws you for a loop because you're like, that's a sweetness level that I wasn't ready for, but it's still so
It's real
good.
vanilla forward.
Yeah.
Personally, I tend to only really get dark chocolate. I'm a huge dark chocolate fan myself, and I like white chocolate. It's just, I think the bitter also kind of falls into it, because dark chocolate is bitter, and whenever I get it, it's almost always got to be covering something, like cherries, like chocolate covered cherries, or
chocolate covered almonds, or chocolate covered oranges.
I mean, maybe the orange, not so. I've never really understood that combination, chocolate oranges, but that's because I've never had it, so I could be wrong there.
Well, this last weekend when I was in Florida, they made chocolate covered toffee. Oh my gosh, that would be good with
We did here.
That would be really good.
You guys made it.
Okay, so now that you've had that, and this may be a big ask, go to the grocery store, find a Heath bar, and then find a Score bar. They're both made by Hershey's. They taste different. One of them is sweeter than the other. It's Score, S-K-O-R.
Neither one would match up to what these ladies made.
Oh, I agree.
That would be your daughter.
I agree. But you'll find that they taste enough different that when you have them with bourbon, one tastes significantly better than the other.
Oh.
Yeah.
You should have a show on that.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So there's another
That's
food.
a good idea, actually.
That's a really good idea.
We could do like a food
flight.
a food flight with bourbon or something.
Yeah.
So there's another treat that we've done. It doesn't happen very much in the winter, but in the summer, I have this mustache here and this stuff on my face that marshmallows, when they're hot and sticky, get stuck all over my face. So I've come up with this idea to where if you take a board and put it on the smoker, take your graham crackers and place them across the board, put the marshmallows on the graham crackers, and then just crank up the heat and cook them until the marshmallow gets double its size. Put your little chunk of chocolate on it. Now don't just use regular Hershey's. Use like a Ghirardelli square that maybe has raspberry in it.
Cherry chocolate, my favorite.
Yep.
There you go.
Raspberry, the cherry, the
or
caramel.
Some with nuts in it or whatever it might be. Dark chocolate's okay. And then cook it until the chocolate begins to fall down the sides. Not melt, just fall down the side. It shapes around the marshmallow. Put the top graham on it, squish it a little bit, and then put it in the freezer. Then it doesn't get stuck in your mustache.
And it's actually, you just make it before dinner. You have your dinner. After dinner, they're cold enough, they're frozen enough that you could just pull them right out of the freezer, and then you have have a glass of bourbon with it. So good.
It's really good.
That conjures up this memory of how they describe Sanka coffee. It's freeze dried. It's like, you make this thing and then you freeze it, so it's dry, it doesn't get stuck in your mustache.
There we go.
I don't know about freeze-dried coffee. I mean, freeze-dried, there was a company over at my last college. I think they were brand new, and it was a local one, and they were freeze-drying practically every sort of candy. They even went so far as to freeze-dry ice cream sandwiches. And, I mean, I was with my roommates, and we were like, oh, come on, like, freeze-dried ice cream sandwiches. I don't know about this, but we have the money, let's get it. Same thing for the Skittles. For, I think, the Laffy Taffies as well. I think 2 hours passed, and we were through the bags. Like, they were just so addicting. And we were like, why is this Oreo ice cream sandwich so good freeze-dried? We don't understand, but we have to keep eating it. And then the same thing happened with the Skittles and the Laffy Taffies. It was just, we were high on sugar that day.
It was easy to eat.
Yeah, it's really easy to eat. It's almost too easy to eat because of how addictive they are.
And then, Mark, you make bread.
Yay! Me too.
So you can pair bourbon with bread or whiskey with bread.
Definitely. Yeah.
His sourdough bread is amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the sourdough bread you made with cheese and meat in it.
Oh
We
my
still
God.
talk about that day.
I mean,
One day I'm gonna ask about the exact recipe, like, because I do want to start that.
I don't know if there is an exact recipe because
Fair enough.
when I made it for you guys, there was a tray of cheese and sausage in the refrigerator, and I just put it all in the bread.
Well, it changed my life. Like, no bread ever compared to that again. I came home to Idaho and I'm looking in the grocery store and I'm like, this is just a sad day.
Yep.
This is just never gonna be.
The closest we can come is garlic. Garlic chunks in the bread.
Yeah.
We were up there in early November, and we stopped up by Link Brothers in Minong, and there's an outlet store there. So I bought some of the it's sausage sticks. They're like a jerky, but they have ends and pieces. So it's just how they even up the sausage links. And so I bought a bag of those, and then we bought a bag of cheese curds, and I put a couple handfuls of each in the bread, and I think that was better than what you guys had. So. But it's like a sandwich without needing to make it. You just slice your bread and you got a sandwich.
Wow.
That's pretty handy.
That's really.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry if this goes in the wrong direction, but when you talk about bread and bourbon, it conjures up this idea of cookies and whiskey.
Okay. So,
Mark, that's your fault.
Okay, but Elora,
yes.
you've done this. You've made she makes these cookies.
Yeah, I watch a bunch of, I don't know, how do you say it? It's like the time
lapses.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Time lapses of recipes. They could be savory, they could be sweet. They usually are on the sweeter side. I came across this one where they were making sugar cookies. They had two different doughs. I think one was red dough with a bunch of food coloring, and then the other one was just, the clear cookie dough. And I was like, I can do that. Essentially, they rolled out the clear cookie dough, and then they put the red cookie dough on top and rolled it on that. And then you would roll it up to make a spiral. So it'd make
like a Swiss roll.
Yeah, like a Swiss roll. And then when you would slice into it, you'd see a spiral cookie, essentially. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a really cool idea. And the recipe for sugar cookies calls for almond extract. And I don't got that. We don't have that. So I just went to Dad and I was like, Dad, what are some bourbons that have almond flavoring in them? Because that was the closest we could come.
Yeah.
And I don't know what bourbon you recommended.
It was
but
probably a Buffalo Trace.
Probably.
there was at least probably 2 ounces of that in
In
this
the dough.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was like, I would pour a little bit and then do.
It's called working with what you've got.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So I would pour a little bit in, and I'm like, I don't want it too,
Alcoholic.
yeah, and then it wouldn't be alcoholic enough. So I'm like, all right, we're switching these. We're hyping up these sugar cookies, and they're just gonna be a little bit on the bourbon side. So I baked them, and I think the first batch was overbaked, but I think that was like my first time making cookies. I make bread more often, so I'm more familiar with bread. But Hannah keeps trying to tell me, Elora, you need to make those cookies.
They were really good cookies. They were really, 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 really good.
The bourbon
cookies.
complemented the bourbon.
Yeah.
And they weren't so much as sugar cookies. And in my opinion, they needed to be more sugary. And she was like, "No, you do nothing to change the recipe."
They almost had like a shortbread quality to them, and I love shortbread.
Yeah, you do love the shortbread and butter cookies.
They were so buttery and soft and melt in the mouth. And I really loved them, and I loved the little tiny bit of like the bourbon vanilla that came through
really
with
good.
them. That was good.
So John's
My
reference.
question is, with the holiday season now, Joan is making her gingerbread cookies.
Yes.
Which bourbon for you guys would go with gingerbread cookies?
I know, I'll have to send some. I was going to get one of my gingerbread cookies and eat them while I'm having my dinner.
And that would be good. That would be very good.
Yeah.
And make us all salivate.
You have the best gingerbread cookies.
So I would guess.
I think Elijah
We got the
Craig's.
recipe, but it's not the same as Joan's gingerbread cookie.
Well,
That's what everybody says.
Like, we have to make Aunt Joan's gingerbread cookies. I'm like, okay, Chrissy, we will get right on that.
So about 3 years ago, it might have been 2 years ago, Elora made Aunt Joan's cookies.
She asked for the
The whole
recipe.
batch, right?
Yeah, she made the whole batch. There's only 4 of us.
That batch makes like 60 cookies.
Oh, look at those. That's
Oh
really
my gosh. Oh.
I'll take that one. I'll take that one.
They're so cute.
You know,
They're so cute.
I like it deer. I like the
Yep,
deer.
I'll take
Aww.
You gotta find a little man.
Yeah. So Elora made this batch. We had so much dough left over that
It lasted to February.
it lasted till February.
And we would just slowly siphon off a bit here, a bit there.
I
make some
remember once
cookies.
making 4 cookies because that's all I wanted.
We've all been there. We've all done that.
Don't follow the handwritten instructions.
Unless you read the talk very carefully
I know
that
what Grandma was
says.
thinking when she wrote down that lefse recipe. But oh my gosh!
Yeah.
That does pair well.
I
Yeah,
was so
right?
jealous.
I'm thinking a Heaven Hill product would be good with gingerbread.
Like Elijah Craig.
Yeah.
I think if
Yeah.
you got an Elijah Craig, if you wanted to put any of that in your dough, I think Elijah Craig would be your winner.
Yep. And then maybe even drink Elijah Craig with it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to try that.
I might try the recipe again, not the
Yeah.
handwritten instructions, but I might try it again.
That was
I
so
was
many.
trying to think of how to add bourbon to bread because I'm also a bread baker,
Yeah.
like Elora. And I have this thought. I'm thinking for Christmas Day I'm gonna make some cherry rolls. So like a sweet roll with cherries in them. And I
Put it
think
in the glaze.
was going to have bourbon in it.
Put it in the glaze.
Oh,
That's right. You can't put it in the dough because it'll kill the yeast. But if you put it in the glaze,
Oh, that would be awesome.
or if you
Actually,
put it
you
in
could
the
put it in the
I
cherry.
think in the filling and in the glaze.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you could put it in the cherry.
Yeah.
We
You
like
want
to
me to
make
try
caramel rolls, and I think if somehow we could make a caramel that has bourbon in the caramel. That would be
Yeah.
a great way to
Yeah,
finish
that's
the day.
true too.
Like a sticky bun almost?
Yes, yeah.
Like a sticky bun?
With some
Kind of break
pecans.
with tradition though, because we usually have tequila sunrises on Christmas morning.
Oh, no. Is Matthew coming home for Christmas?
He is not. He was here for Thanksgiving for a week. He and
That
Becca.
was nice.
Yeah, they came the Tuesday before and left the Tuesday after. So, yeah, we had a nice time with them.
So I actually knew the answer to that question because I am terrible at Christmas cards. So today I was sending out Christmas LinkedIn greetings. And although, Brian, you are a LinkedIn connection, and Mark, you're not going to get a LinkedIn greeting from me because I thought that'd just be weird. But heck, I thought it'd be cool for Matthew to get one. So I did, and he got back to me right away. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, you get. I congratulated him on his year anniversary, and I don't think I'd even shut my phone off, and I got a response back from him already.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's great.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, and Julia came and visited us, and it was so nice. Even though it was for one night, it was really nice.
Yeah,
We had
that
a
was
really
so
nice
cool.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, glad she got a chance to get up there. And
Yeah, she's been meaning to do that for a while since she's down there. And
That was so nice.
And since we live in the South, I can say this word. All y'all are always welcome to come and visit anytime you want.
All y'all?
All
All
Yeah,
y'all.
he's got to work on that a little bit.
I mean, I'm from Wisconsin, but I live in the South, so I can say it. I can't say it well. But all y'all are always welcome to visit.
I
I'd
know
love
it was kind of weird with our vernacular. We've got a little bit of virtually everything over
I
here.
think so. I don't think that there's like a distinguished sort of. Yeah,
No,
I don't
yeah.
think so.
Like people will do the y'all over here.
I will.
People will do almost like southern drawls over here too, which I've never really understood. But I get those people on the phone with me at work all the time, and I'm like, "Are you really in Idaho? Like, are you sure you're not in Texas? Like, where are you actually?" But
they don't have the Uber draw, like, hey,
you know, sometimes, and
You guys.
and you know what's so funny is like, and I have you guys to thank for this, that I can slip into a Midwestern accent super quick. So if I get somebody on the phone with that
Not even
accent,
speaking with it.
She is right now.
If I get somebody on the phone who has that accent, I'll switch into it, and then I'll have to go like, I'm not trying to be like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make you feel uncomfortable. I have family. I could like I'm sorry, like I can't help it. I fall into it just so easily.
I think with some words, they're permanently, I don't know, like, any word with an O, it's actually pretty hard to go back to
Look
how
what
I
you
used
guys have
it.
done to her.
Yeah, it's actually pretty hard. Like, what would you use?
And the sad thing is, you don't even know.
No.
That's just the way you are.
Right.
I don't have an accent.
What I learned when we moved to North Carolina, that people just, it's not that they talk different, because they do. There's like 6 different ways that people talk in North Carolina, but they think different, and they say things different. I was told I'd be happy as beans. Never thought beans were happy. And things are going to be fine as frog's hair. These were things that rolled off of people's mouths. They weren't even thinking about it. They just said it that
Well,
way.
and it's the bless your heart. And
Yeah.
bless your heart can go either way. Oh,
So I have a story.
If somebody tells you bless your heart.
I have a story about that. 2 weeks ago at work, this perfectly loving lady that I work with calls everybody hun. Like, it's endearing. And this customer came to her and wanted something specific. And she said, "Oh, hun, we don't have that." The lady blew up at her because she took offense that she was being called honey, turned and walked away from her and walked right up to me and said, "Will you help me?" Under any other normal circumstance, I would always say no. Because if someone comes to me, I just think it's kind of funny that they're coming to me and asking me for help. What am I there for? I mean, I'm there to help people. And usually I start smiling. But this particular time I didn't. And it turned out that it was the right decision to make because she would have blown up at me. And it turns out, yes, we had the thing she was looking for. I wrote it up. And then she told me the story of that lady over there called me hun. And I'm thinking, that lady is the nicest lady you could ever imagine. Now, why are you being so mean to her? And it bothered her the entire rest of the day that she had called somebody hun and didn't even realize that it came out of her mouth. It's just weird the way people react to things.
The bless your heart thing, that one is up here too. And I think that one is so funny whenever you explain it to anybody who hasn't heard it, because it's never meant in a genuine way. It's always meant in a, ooh, you're that, bless your heart, but you're not. You're kind of dumb, like, you know.
Well,
I think you're kind of right.
It goes both ways. It does go both ways.
I've seen situations where somebody calls, I've been on planes. This is a situation. You're on a plane and somebody calls somebody else hun and there was nothing meant by it and it just goes over. But I also saw some guy call the flight attendant hun. He didn't mean anything by it. She took offense to it and it colored the whole flight. Yeah, so you just, I don't call anybody hun. I'm just rude to everybody.
Me too.
Wait a minute, I think you called me hun.
Close the door.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to guess again. This one I'm thinking that it's...
This is
number two. I think this one is about 90 proof or thereabouts, and it's a rye bourbon.
He was behind a couple days when he got sick. He missed a couple, so now he's playing catch up a bit.
So,
That's okay.
Oh my gosh, you're kind of right.
Your taste buds are going to be different too.
Yeah.
So this one is a rye, which I wasn't right.
Yeah, you said a rye.
You said rye.
I said a rye.
Yeah.
I said it was a rye bourbon. And it's 100 proof, so I was way wrong on the proof.
Well,
so again, I don't know anything.
And it's a whistle pig.
So
there was that one time.
So I know nothing.
There was that one time you got sick.
Everybody's got their own taste. I had a whistle pig at a restaurant that we like to go to pretty regular, and I saw it sitting up there, and it was calling my name, and I had it, and I hated it.
Yeah.
You know.
And other people they have it, and they love it. You know, everybody likes something different.
Whistle pig is whistle pig.
Talk about the whistle pig.
Whistle pig's an interesting one. I on the podcast, on the blog, I'm a regular preacher about value. Like, I'll talk all day, every day about the value. For me, when I see Whistle Pig, I go, okay, they're exclusively a rye product. They don't do anything other than ryes. And their entry-level ryes are frankly pretty pricey. And they can get even pricier. Like, you can find a $250 Whistle Pig on the shelf. And for me, going, okay, if that's all you're doing and your entry level is at this price point, I think, you know, in some place, like, I think it's about $70. It's not cheap by any means. at that level, I'm like, I don't know if I'm really willing to jump in with you on that. At least with all of these other ones, the EH Taylors, those definitely get like what I'm drinking. Those can definitely get a bit pricier, but the small batch is pretty affordable, like at 40 or 50 bucks,
Right.
MSRP anyway. But yeah, the Whistle Pigs I've always thought are kind of a hit or miss, and I think that $70 one is like 80 proof, and I'm a bit of a proof hound, so I also am like, $70 for something that's 80 proof?
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good.
I'll
Yeah,
walk down-
there were two things I didn't like about it. One big one was the taste. It wasn't what I was looking for. And
Yeah.
the second one hit me in the pocketbook pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this was a bar that every kind of bourbon that they sell has a different price, and that was one of the higher priced ones. And I would have been much happier with one of my regulars.
Yeah. Now,
But I was on business up in Maine, and somebody else was buying bourbon. We actually went to a bourbon bar. It was the most amazing place I've ever been. It's like, as far as you could see, there were different kinds of bourbon. You should go there. I'll take you. I will show you it to you, and you can take me there. That was great.
I'm down.
All going to me.
And then we went to dinner, and then we went to another place, and it was like a speakeasy, except it really wasn't a speakeasy. And we got to the back place, and the host, one of the hosts, there were three hosts, he bought his drink, and because we were still trying to figure out how do we walk through the bookcase that's open. It's a little weird. And I just said, they asked me what I wanted. It was really loud. I said, well, I'll have what he's having. And the guy behind me said, well, I'll have what he's having too. It turns out they were having a Blanton's. And we had to wait because he finished the bottle of Blanton's. And when he figured that out, he asked the bartender, well, could I have the horse? And the bartender gave him the horse. He says, I have all the horses, but I know other people that are collecting them.
yeah.
And I enjoy Blanton's. I've never gotten into collecting the horses, but every time I've had Blanton's, it is a really good bourbon.
I don't even know what that is.
So I tell you a little story about that. Our bourbon club is a major sponsor of a beard and mustache contest that happens in early December every year.
Are you a part of that?
This year, we donated a bunch of bottles. I did not put a bottle in, but members of the club put in a bunch of different bottles. So what we did for the Blantons is we got 7 different Blanton's bottles, all of the letters. So if you've ever seen the horse, each horse has a different running gallop, and the jockey sitting on top of the horse has his whip up or down or wherever, so he's moving.
Right.
There's a B and an L and an A and an N and a T and an O and another N. And then apostrophe on the last N and then an S.
They're all different.
So they're all different. We donated all 7 bottles with a different letter. And then people bid on them, and then we sold the whole lot. I don't know the exact price that it went for, but it went for something more than double what the retail was of the individual bottles.
That's pretty cool.
Our club generated over, what did I tell you, $26,000 for toys for tots just in liquor this year.
Wow.
That,
Awesome.
that
That
was
is cool.
that they were all bid on. And the thing of it was, most of the club members bought our bottles back. But that's kind of how it works.
Wow. It's okay. Yeah.
It's for a good
That's
cause.
Yeah. So it was the most we'd ever done, and then the next day or days later, members of the club were already saying, okay, let's start gathering up bottles for next year so we can be ready for it next year and double up next year.
Yeah, our group over here, is a good bunch of people. The people who head it up, they've been on our show before. They've got like the biggest hearts and the biggest ideas on how to do this. The whole Advent calendar thing is their idea. The whole let's do these charity events, let's make things accessible for everybody, let's make this an actual community. They do a really good job.
It is a really, really community-based thing. Over here, there used to be a guy who would decorate his house in Christmas lights. All the time. And these would be excessive Christmas lights. And what's even cooler is he'd program the Christmas lights to be flashing with music on a radio station.
Yeah, he'd like rent out an FM
We have that here in our neighborhood.
Yeah. It's really cool. And I think either last year or...
It was last year.
Yeah, it was last year. This person...
who'd been doing this for
all of our lives.
a decade plus. You know, we've gone to watch him every year. He was diagnosed with cancer and was no longer going to be able to put in the work to make the light show, to put the lights up, to do any of that. Just wasn't going to happen. And one of the leaders of our whiskey group, and among others, actually went over to his house and said, "We'll put up the lights. We'll help you coordinate the show. We'll do X, Y, Z, whatever you got to do to keep this going."
That's what it's all about.
This guy his heart is so big. I mean,
nursed in COVID. You know, he's a nurse. Frontliner, COVID. All the things.
Well,
he's really nice too.
He also has a light show, and he would go to different places throughout the United States in the off season because they would have these Christmas light meetings, and that he found out about it, and he coordinated people from all over the United States to come over to this guy's house and put up one last light display. I mean,
that is cool.
There were people coming from Milwaukee. There were people coming from Washington. There are people coming from Texas just to put up lights one more time for this guy. It's pretty cool.
That is so cool. Yeah.
So
it's a really big
I see a puppy.
I know. I was just gonna say,
Smokey.
Hi, Smokey.
Little puppy.
yeah.
We got two puppies that are saying we need to get out of our beds.
Yeah. Well, I think this has been a great show. So far, we've talked about everything. Let's take a little bit of a break here, and then we'll go into our fortnight in whiskey. So my first story tonight, World Whiskey Report for 2023, specifically American whiskey. Well, the once staggering growth of American whiskey has slowed a little bit in 2023. The distillers are continuing to rebound from a global inflation. We've got COVID pandemic where everybody was staying home and not buying anything. We've had some supply chain issues. The world decided to be stupid and do all kind of political stuff. But Chris Swanger, president of the Distilled Spirits Council of the U.S., known as DISCUS, thinks there are a lot of economic headwinds that everybody's navigating. And some of those headwinds, right now, American whiskey is facing a 50% tariff going into the EU, coming up potentially at the beginning of the year. The growth could be stifled. You imagine paying 50% more on the liquor that you're buying right now? There'd be a lot of people not going to do it. Susan Wall, a vice president of American Whiskey at Heaven Hill, says the opportunity for growth still is there. Europe wants our liquor. Of course, we want their scotch. But that's another thing that they're looking at. if the tariffs go up on American whiskey, they could also be looking at raising tariffs on Scotch coming back to us. They don't want to get into a he said, she said deal or whatever, but there's another obstacle that's probably as bad or worse. There is a potential barrel shortage coming. As you may be aware, all bourbon, all rye needs to be aged in new oak barrels. At the present time, unless something changes, they're looking at potentially running out of oak from traditional sources, American white oak, as early as sometime within the next 4 to 6 years.
That's been something that I've wondered about and even talked about, not on air so much, but that's been a regular topic in the house whenever we have bourbon of, hey, what's going to happen when we run out of trees? Because at some point, we're going to run out of the oak.
And, I mean, at my last job, I used to work at an agricultural sort of hardware place. I mean, lumber was going through the roof simply because of wood shortages. And another thing is, they're even experiencing the same problem with instruments. I play clarinet, and they used to make clarinets out of a specific tree, or use the wood from that specific tree, and it's an endangered species. So now they're having to switch over to a different, darker wood. So there's a lot of moving around, and I actually kind of see that happening. Like you say, like new oak barrels, they probably move to a different kind of oak.
Well, the challenge is, by legal definition, it has to be done in American white oak.
And new white oak.
And new white oak.
So, but if there's none of that, then they'd have to look to other things because it is still a growing industry.
And they'd have to rewrite the law first, though.
Yes, exactly. So, Mark, I got to ask you, you may or may not know, but in northern Wisconsin, there's supposedly some white oak stands. Do you know of any?
In the house we grew up in, there's still 2 there, and in Grandma's house, I think there's 3 or 4 white oaks. So
Yeah.
I'm sure the woods around there's got to be a lot of them.
Yeah, I would think so too. I think it's not as dire as it seems, but the traditional sources are mostly in Kentucky, and mostly in Missouri, and mostly in Indiana. So they're going to have to start looking at other sources for American white oak. I don't know how much each tree yields as far as barrels. You look at the tree has to be straight and has to be fairly knot free, because if it's got knots in it, it's going to leak.
Yeah.
So there's some very specifics. They say about 20 to 35 years of growth before it can be harvested. Ideally, they want them 60 to 80 years old. Well, that's going to be really tough to come by.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation.
Most of that stuff's been logged multiple times. And,
Absolutely.
And oak is not a fast-growing tree.
Right.
And we have a problem around here. I don't know how widespread it is, but oak wilt, and it attacks white oak, so that those trees die from that disease.
Oh, yeah.
So that could be a problem as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2,600 distillers here in the United States. Obviously, that makes it tough if they're all making bourbon. The episode we did last time, American Single Malt, a lot of these distillers, these craft distilleries, are going that route because you don't have to pay the premium to get the white oak barrel. It doesn't require a new barrel. The other thing, like Hannah suggested, maybe the laws change and maybe they start reusing barrels by scraping the insides out and then recharring them and
Or
using
they
them
get
again.
oak, or they get oak from new oak from other countries, and they start importing that.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting, and I think it was your last podcast where you were talking about one of the distillers of American whiskey wanting to write the law so that it required the use of American white oak.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. We already have a potential shortage, and you want to just make it worse.
And I think it's because they're one of the big players and pretty much have their sourcing already figured out.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that's a great point. Beer is also fighting back against spirits. In 2022, spirits took over the category for the first time in history. 42.1% of the U.S. beverages in the alcohol market in 2022 were spirits, compared to 41.9 in beer. So there's not a lot of difference there. But beer was overtaken. In June, the Beer Institutes actually started a brand new website called Stand With Beer. I don't understand why they need to do that, but
Like you're not.
okay.
It's a 0.2% difference. You're gonna be okay. I promise. Your beer. Like
But
I have more beer than I do bourbon. Honestly, that's
Same
silly.
here.
But at the same time, the breweries are jumping in too. Molson Coors just purchased Kentucky's Blue Run Spirits, a big bourbon producer in Kentucky. Despite the obstacles, optimism abounds. Ready-to-drink cocktails are still big and they're growing. Brands such as Jack Daniels, Heaven Hill, Jim Beam, and others, they can weather the storm, they can weather the tariffs. They have so much inventory that they can do pretty much whatever they want.
And they're staples on the shelf.
Yep.
I mean, they're never going to be left wanting.
Exactly. And then digging into the second story I've got, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into that the tariff anxiety, that looming 50% duty on American exports to the EU. Chris Schwanger, president of Discus, says he's exasperated, exhausted, and anxious. So much so that Discus has now a lobbying arm to the federal government, and he's in constant contact with the Biden administration trying to figure out how they can help stem the ties. However, with the world economy doing the things that it's done and the political upheavals in the Middle East and you know,
Just everywhere. really.
Yeah.
that's not a priority right now. He says that we're cautiously optimistic, and it's largely because, you know, we have that leverage. People making scotch don't want to pay a tariff. We don't want to pay a tariff. And unfortunately, these tariffs aren't on the liquor. They're on other goods and services with a rider with the liquor. They're trying to separate it. When it originally came across, we were having an issue getting steel and aluminum. So we were being supplied a great deal of aluminum out of Europe. Trump put a big rider on and said, okay, we're going to go ahead and say we'll do this, but we'll pay you a tariff of 25%. Well, that got vetoed, and fortunately, well, for a short period of time it was there. From 2018 to 2021, there was a 12% decrease in American spirits going to Europe, specifically an 18% fall in American whiskey exports. From January this year through July, there was a 27% increase because the tariffs were suspended. So clearly, the tariffs are affecting American whiskey.
Yeah.
Since 2002, I thought this was a pretty amazing statistic. Whiskey exports to the EU have increased nearly 242%.
Wow.
So Europe likes our liquor.
When I was in the Czech Republic, and this was about 4 or 5 years ago, probably about 5 years ago now, I went to a whiskey bar in Brno, Czech Republic. It's almost smack dab in the middle of the country, south. Very modern city. It incorporates modern with its history super, super well. I loved Brno, and they had this speakeasy-esque bar over there that I was told that you have to go to. The bar with no name. It's what it's called. And so, you know, I go over there, and floor to ceiling, there's like 7 towers spanning the length of this bar. And each tower is, 30 feet tall. They've got ladders going all the way up to the top shelf. Each tower is dedicated to a different spirit. There were like 2 towers dedicated to bourbons, ryes, American whiskeys, scotches.
That's impressive.
The menu itself was impressive as well. Like there was a whole page just for American whiskey, and with a high prevalence of bourbon and rye. And I'd never felt more at home. I was like, I know all these names. I know, like, I've got all of these on my shelf. In fact, there's some of these I can't even find in my stores anymore. They had Blanton's, they had Eagle Rare, they had Colonel Taylor, they had Booker's. And I'm like, these are things that you have to really kind of hunt for back where I'm from. But nope, over there, they just go, let me climb the ladder, 10 feet and I'll grab the bottle you want.
Like a library.
Like a library. It was really, really, really cool. I loved it over there. I loved that bar. I want to go back. But
we should go back together.
But that statistic does not surprise me at all.
And my third story, this Seattle whiskey was named the number 3 best in the world. Seattle may be better known for coffee and IPAs, but now they can boast a world-class whiskey. Last week I spoke of a distillery called Westland Distillery. They were awarded the 3rd best whiskey in the world by Whiskey Advocate magazine. The Whiskey Advocate judging panel gave the Seattle whiskey a score of 94 out of 100, just behind number 1 and 2 that they gave a 95 out of 100. Number 1 was Glenglassaugh Sanded Scotch, and the other one was Highland Park's Cask Strength. According to one Whiskey Advocate reviewer, the oak influence is exquisite, coaxing out notes of charcoal grill, Krispy Kreme donut, honey nut Cheerios, and a touch of salinity on the nose.
I love Honey Nut Cheerios. Like, that's a really common thing that I get for birthdays from friends, because they're like, do you need more Honey Nut Cheerios? Or are you good on Honey Nut Cheerios? I'm like, I could use more, so.
A beautifully textured palate melds the smoke and sweetness in superb fashion, expressing strawberry jam, burnt sugar, campfire smoke, and chocolate raspberry Ghirardelli squares.
Wow.
Toasted marshmallow, honey, and cinnamon sweetness linger on and through the finish and leaves you wanting another sip.
Sometimes, like, speaking as a reviewer myself, who has spoken reviews, who has written reviews, who has talked in liquor stores with other customers and employees, I can't talk like that about whiskey. I don't even know if I really want to. I think there's a lot of great stuff in there. It's intriguing.
But why make it
sure.
a bouquet?
But like, I'm as snobbish as they come with these sorts of things. But it's like, how do you find Honey Nut Cheerios in a bourbon? Like,
you just do.
But
you just do.
Okay, you just do, I guess. But there's just some things where I'm like, I can't get there. I can't do that. But, definitely sounds interesting, and good for them for getting that 94 out of 100. That's a very high praise coming from Whiskey Advocate.
So the listeners may recall that I'd mentioned this distillery, and they had 4 different products that were out there. They had their namesake, which was their Westland, but they had this Garyana. So this particular one that was given the number 3 ranking was aged in Garyana oak. Not white oak, but Garyana. Garyana is a strain of oak that's specific to the Northwest. It's also aged in Pedro Jimenez sherry casks and Washington red wine casks. combined, it spent 4 years in the barrels. When Whiskey Advocate rated these, they had a panel that sat down with all of these. They did not know the producer, they didn't know the country of origin, they didn't know the age, they didn't know the price tag. They just had this whiskey. And they gave this the number 3 ranking of this panel of, I don't know how many people, 10, 15, whatever number. They said this is the 3rd best in the year. So that's pretty impressive that an American single malt has now been rated that high. So as always, links to the above stories, as well as many others, are posted on our website. You can go there and read the full stories and learn more about it. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Mark and Joan, thank you guys. John and Sue had to head off. I guess it was getting sleepy time for them. That's okay. They'll get to listen in to the last little bit themselves when they listen up. Lastly, we've got a couple of upcoming episodes. Anna, you want to?
We are closing out our season here pretty shortly. Our next episode is going to be another history episode. Theme, scandal. Very exciting. We'll see what that's all about. And then after that, be on the lookout for a poll. It'll be posted throughout our social media on what our last whiskey is going to be that we will be reviewing for the season. Just like at the beginning of the season where we reviewed that orange label from Old Forester we were talking about earlier, we're going to put out some of our unicorns and you guys get to pick which one we get to review. Super excited. We haven't really sat down to figure out which unicorns are going to be up for the guillotine, but we're gonna do that, and we're pretty excited. And that will be our final episode of this season. It's been a great season.
Really fun.
Again, guys, thank you for being on the show. As we end all of our shows, we do a ringing of the Glencairns. All right?
Yay, we can do it.
Yeah, you get to do it.
Yes. Cheers, everybody. Cheers.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful. I love it.